Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Astro Alchemy. I'm Sarah, and this is Laura, and we are your hosts for the show. I guess that's what it's called, right? The podcast, the YouTube video. And this week, we're going to be covering Gene Key 46, as well as the current astrological transits. And we're going to be looking at Gene Key 46 from the Gene Keys perspective, but then also from the human design perspective. Today is Thursday, September 22nd. It's 5:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It would be 2:18 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is where Laura is. So yeah, I'm excited to dive in and talk about what's going on because I feel like there's a lot of instability collectively with the transits, not just with myself, but all over the place. And I'm excited to just be able to kind of catch up about it. Laura, do you have anything that you want to say before we jump in?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, I'm getting better at the intro, that means. Okay, sweet. So do you want to pull up the Gene Key 46 and or the human design chart of the moment?
Yes. 1 second, please, as I try to find it. Share my screen. How do I share? There we go. I almost stopped recording this whole thing, so I guess it's just that kind of day that accidents might happen. Okay, so you're looking at, if you're watching this on YouTube, otherwise you're listening to me talk, but you were imagining in your mind's eye, or you're looking at the human design chart of the moment, and the sun here at the top of the list of planets is in 46 line 2, and 46 is right here in the G center. So currently, like, the whole chart is white at this moment in time, which is a reflector's chart. So all the centers are white, so I can't say like, look at this colored center, but otherwise if this center would be defined, it'd be yellow. But this is the G center, which is the home of that magnetic monopole, which is a huge and integral part of what it means to be existing at all in our space-time reality. I was going to say human, but it's bigger than that. It's just to be operating within the Maya. We all have a magnetic monopole. And 46 is here in that center, and it's part of the collective abstract circuitry or the sensing circuit. And it's part of, oh gosh, what's the whole channel called? I don't know what the whole channel is called. 4629 are part of that same channel, that they function together. If you have both those gates defined, then you have both the G and the sacral center defined. Obviously 26 is not colored in right now, so there's no planet in that position, but not 26, 29, but I think 29 is important to look at. And the programming partner of 46 is 25, which you can see here by the little Earth. 25.2.5 is where the Earth is. And these two, I'll stop screen sharing for now. Actually, no, before I talk, I'll go over the Gene Keys information. It's the shadow of seriousness, the gift of delight, and the city of ecstasy. So here's that 25th programming partner, code on ring of matter with 46, 57, 1848. And the two shadows are frigid and frivolous. And I'm going to stop sharing. And
wait, don't stop yet. I was just going to say, could you just share the quality of Gene Key 46 or Gate 46 line 2, since that's what we're in right now? I think
the quality of it.
The human design chart should have it if you click into the.
Oh, sure. Okay, so well, first off, the little blurb for 46 is pushing upwards. Good fortune that may be perceived as the result of serendipity, but derives from effort and dedication. So known as the gate of determination. The line 2 keynote for it is the prima donna, and at this position, the sun is exalted. So the sun enjoys being in this particular line of this particular gate. And it's a difficult and demanding nature that succeeds despite its behavior because of the depth of its talents. The determination to succeed that may offend others. And because it's the second line, it's a projection inwards. But it's not going to share the debilitated form or quality because right now it's exalted. And genetic matrix, this is the website we're on if you're confused listening to me on genetic matrix. When you look at the chart of the moment, which you can just by going on the website and scrolling down, and you interact with the chart, we realize that if a planet is in a position in which it's either exalted or debilitated, it's only going to show that quality. Otherwise, like say we click on the Earth, it's going to show that Mercury is exalted in 25.2 and Mars is debilitated in 25.2, but it's going to show both. Whereas just because the sun's exalted, it's not going to show us the debilitated form, which is fine. Genetic matrix, if you're listening, you're probably not, but appreciate it if you show both, but I'm sure there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing. But there we go. I'm going to say it again slower. A difficult and demanding nature that succeeds despite its behavior because of the depth of its talents, the determination to succeed that may offend others. Okay, can I stop sharing now?
Perfect.
There we go. So, like there's so many directions my brain wants to go in. First off, as we're talking, it's highly possible that the sun is going to move from Virgo to Libra. This is part of the vessel of love incarnation cross, of which the 4 pillars, the 4 points of that cross are shifting of the seasons. The solstices and the equinoxes. So today is the first day of fall, and like within the hour it'll be the first day of fall. Not yet, we're still in Virgo season. But because of that, what this particular gate is like the bridge, well, line 2 in particular is the bridge from summer into fall. So like as you've been listening these past couple of weeks, we've been talking about seasons and their value and understanding astrological concepts. So just keep that in mind. But the quality of it being Virgo / Libra isn't necessarily relevant. Maybe the Libra is, but gate 46 being part of the vessel of love, let's just lay out a bunch of information. So the vessel of love is like 4 gates within the G center, and the G center deals with, like I said, it's our magnetic monopole, but it deals with our sense of love for existing, or a sense of love for ourselves, not necessarily romantical, like I got a crush on you love, but the concept of love in and of itself. If you think of like law of attraction, like love is the vibration that attracts everything unto itself, that kind of love. So there's that, and oh shoot, where was that train of thought going with love? There's 4 qualities of love, or 4 types of love that are indicated by this incarnation cross. And Ra uses like a vessel, a picture, to explain the 4 parts. One is the outer wall of the picture, the other one's the inner wall of the picture. So the outer wall deals with reality, it deals with whoever's picking it up and moving it around and using it. The inner wall is what supports what's inside the water. There's, I think the spout is another part of it, like what allows the water to be put out of itself. And then there's, I think, the water itself. Now, after saying all that, I don't know which 46 refers to. I used to know. I could look it up during this recording, but I used to know which one it was. But I mean, in terms of like what, practically speaking, 46's love is about, is the love of the flesh, the love of being human, the love of the form, and it's about being embodied. And I feel like if you've read the Gene Keys chapter on 46, in a nutshell, I think this Gene Key is all about following strategy and authority. Like in a nutshell, it's like, it's about serendipity. And when you, whatever I said that quote was for 46, let me read it again because short-term memory loss. If I go to it, not for the line, but for the whole gate. Good fortune that may be perceived as the result of serendipity, but derives from effort and dedication. The effort and dedication is us doing strategy and authority, and what results is being in the right place at the right time, experiencing exactly what you need to experience, everything falling into place, and allowing you to feel embodied, to feel secure in your human flesh, to feel secure with being human, and, you know, be okay with being a human being. I feel like a lot of us who begin our spiritual journey have a lot of resistance with being human beings once we realize what it actually means to be human, and that perhaps there is like a greater reason why we're here, and it's not just, you know, scientific chance that we're here. And get a lot of resentment and bitterness towards like, why am I here? What's the point of it all? And with 46, it brings it all home internally inside the self. to say, you know, you're here because, well, part of you wanted to be here, but it doesn't matter. Like, no matter is one of the keys from the chapter that Richard Rudd wrote for this gene key. It doesn't really matter, because there's a levity that comes from letting go of the seriousness. And it's the seriousness that boggles us down with thinking, why are we here? Have to figure out the answer, have to figure out what to do with my life and where I'm going and all that stuff. And like, when you kind of scratch that all away, then you can just be present in the moment and appreciate existence for whatever it is. Hence the whatever the gift is, serendipity, I think, right? You can be serendipitous rather than being serious, caught up in the seriousness of humanity. But for the human design information quickly, because talking a bunch, it's, I don't remember what the channel is called. I could look it up when Sarah's talking, but it deals with the abstract circuitry. So having experiences and having a personal affiliation with whatever that experience is. I feel like we've talked about abstract circuitry so much on this podcast, week after week, episode after episode. So if you've listened before, you have a grasp, hopefully, on what it means. Don't want to get into it again, but I've noticed that all the abstract, maybe not all, this is like a or generalization on my part, which I'm probably gonna next episode say Laura was wrong. But I feel like a lot of the abstract circuitry gates deal with the process of manifestation from the law of attraction perspective. Like, a lot of them, like, you have to have a desire, you have to let go of expectation, you have to be in the right place at the right time. Like, there's so many different pieces that fit into it, and I feel like it all exists in abstract circuitry. Maybe not all, maybe there's parts of it that exist in other circuits, but yeah, I feel like abstract circuitry is there for us to help us with the process of manifestation. But anyways, yeah, I feel like I've talked a bunch. I don't know if I'm complete with my thoughts. It doesn't feel that way, but I'll leave it there and I'll let Sarah chit chat while I try to look up what this channel is called.
I feel like this was a really inspiring gene key for me to read, the gene key of this week. And it was funny because yesterday, my friend Stephanie said, love the human, right? So it's like, we need to like take care of the human. Those are the two things that she was saying. And it's because like our human body, our body is not necessarily us. And this is something that Ra teaches in human design, is that like our body's the vehicle, and our spirit is kind of, or like spirit that has never been born and never dies, is our personality consciousness. And so like there isn't necessarily this inherent union to them when we're born, but our spirit is responsible for taking care of and minding the body, as opposed to being the one to as opposed to the mind being in control of the body and kind of forcing it to do what it wants. So that was something that came up, and I thought it was a very fitting thing to say for this particular gate and gene key. And then secondly, I wanted to say something about what Ra said about the body. What did Ra say about the body? I forget for the moment, but I'll probably have it come to me eventually. But there was a lot of things from the chapter that really like struck a chord with me. One of the things that they were talking about, how this particular gene key rules the first 21-year cycle of life, so like the entirety of it. And I think that's an important thing to think about, because like all of the different things have been kind of all the different things by 21 that have to do with our safety within our own physical bodies have been established in some way, shape, or form by the caregivers, by the parents, by the people around us. And so one of the things that Ross said, this wasn't what I was going to say before, but how important it is, and how much responsibility the children are for the information of human design, because it's not meant to patch people up, as he curtly has said before, but it's more so for children to be raised correctly, like Laura was saying, following strategy and authority. That's the work. It's not like it's not work that's beyond that. It's just following your strategy and authority, and then being correct as yourself and not letting the mind take over. Like that's where it seems like serendipity, but it isn't, or it seems like luck, but it isn't, because you're just performing yourself. Oh, this is what Ross said. Ross said that we are the transits in essence. And so like when we're behaving correctly as ourselves, we're no longer, it's not like we're separate or we're controlling or we're, kind of utilizing any of the different things that happens in our lives, but our lives are merely a reflection of the transits that we were born under. And so we're living out that storyline as opposed to trying to control it, make it the way the mind wants it to be, all of those different things. And I thought that was an interesting thing. It was from one of his global cycle talks that I sent you, Laura, at some point. But just the idea that our bodies will live the transits out. That's what they're going to do. They're going to live the different planetary placements out if we just let them, and they have the storyline and they have everything ready, and all we have to do is sit back. But we've become so accustomed to our minds being the ones that are in control that we can't even fathom what that looks like. And I was on call with somebody who is also interested in human design, deeply interested in human design. She's a human design, she does readings and she's a consultant and all of those things. And she said something about how people don't want to live the design. They want to learn about it, but they don't actually want to live it. And it's like the living it is the hard part. The implementation of the simple things is the hard part. And that has everything to do with the body. And it's annoying because I have a not self mind, just like everyone else does. Mine often feels like very much in control, but it's become more and more painfully obvious to me that, the not self mind will keep you in agony. And that's one of the words, the key words that Richard Rudd uses for this chapter is like the idea of agony versus ecstasy. If you're stuck in your mind, if you're taking yourself away from the present moment, you're always going in with the 46 gene key, your body can be in agony. And I've had a bunch of different chronic physical problems, probably not least of all by not following my strategy and authority for so many years, for so much of my life. And having to do a lot of work around getting out of my head and into my body, or at least honoring the body as the first and most important thing. And then the mind is like a tool for the body to use, but not the mind as something that controls, like I said before, the body to do what it wants, because the mind is not in control. It will never be in control. And it just creates, it likes to feel like it is in control, but it's an illusion, and it creates more resistance. And the resistance is what breaks down the physical body. So that's kind of like a random assortment of things that I've been thinking about. Do you have anything that you want to add on?
No, I mean, yes. No, my automatic response is no, but, which means yes. Just for everyone listening, there's like a common analogy, is that the right word? I'm not sure, for just like the human design experience. Not even that, just how the design crystal and the personality crystal and the magnetic monopole work together, which is, I feel like I should say that, like, if you're looking at your chart for the first time, that the left side is the information that comes from the imprinting 88 days before you were born, which is like what Sarah was saying with, we are like the quote unquote embodiment, that's not the right word, but I don't remember what word you used, of the transits. Like we are the imprint of the transits, and we live out our lives, or our lives are living themselves out, and we experience the life. But it's not like, oh, my life, it's the whatever the transits were at the moment of my birth, that's the manual that's going to dictate what happens, my whole life trajectory. Anyways, I'm getting off the point. The 88 days before you're born comes from the red side on the left, and then your actual birth moment is the personality crystal, and that information comes in where it's at that moment of time. Anyways, the analogy is that like we have this personality crystal, which has, the transiting information. We have the design crystal that has its own transiting information, and they work together in harmony in our physical forms, connected and brought together by the magnetic monopole, which holds the illusion of reality together for ourselves. And we, like Sarah was saying, the mind doesn't have control. We think we're behind the driver's wheel of our vehicle. Like, if this is my vehicle, I think that the mind is making the decisions, calling the shots, doing everything, choosing what it's going to do, et cetera, and that's not true. I mean, one can perceive it to be true, but energetically it's not true. We can perceive anything to be true. Truth is an illusion in and of itself. But the gosh, today is not my day with coherent thoughts. Oh boy. The voice in our head that is our consciousness that thinks it's calling us shots, the mind, is actually in the passenger seat of the vehicle. It's sitting shotgun. And in that, it doesn't have control over the pedals or the wheel or anything else. It is like a little child sitting in that seat without control. And the vehicle is our body or form. And so this gene key 46 deals with the love of the human, the love of whatever the imprinting is, the love of the mechanics. And the magnetic monopole is actually in the driver's seat, doing all the driving, dictating where the vehicle goes. So just wanted to give really lousy context to what Sarah was saying, because my brain did not want to put the pieces together for you, unfortunately. But that's what it is. I feel like I read the chapter yesterday, and I feel like there was so much there, and I was like ready, and then it all whooshed out of my head. Like, you were saying so many things. I'm like, oh yeah, but it could not be pulled out of me myself. So I feel like my brain's not
that happens
where
to
I
me.
would like it to be today.
That happens to me literally all of the time. Like, if I read 2 chapters in a row, because we're doing 2 gene keys, it's like one of them is just, it's landing into the gray matter. Like, it will not be front and center of anything. And like, I'll remember it somewhere like 2 weeks and be like, oh yeah, that key. But yeah, I think, there was a lot of really interesting qualities to the 46. In general, it's interesting that it's in Virgo, right? I feel like Virgo is a very human, Virgo I feel like is a very human sign, not least of all because it's represented by a woman, which the other signs, the only other one that is like that is the twins and the water bear. Yeah, I think that's it. So I mean, I think it's interesting that it exists in Virgo, but then it crosses into Libra. And so like this quality too of what we talked about a few weeks ago, but the yin of the yin, going from the yin of the yang to the yin of the yin. And this kind of the 46 holding the qualities of that transition, I think is just an interesting thing to note. I don't really know if I've formed any coherent thoughts about how that relates to the gift and the city and the shadows. But yeah, I took some notes, or I wrote some things down when I was looking at this, and it really inspired me to try and be more happy, like deep within my body. Like, it's like one of these things that I've read where I'm like, I really need to just stop being hard on myself. And like everyone does, but like, specifically for me, it's the only thing I have control over is me being hard on myself. So like, I really need to stop being hard on myself, just for my body's sake, not even because of like, it's good for morale and things like that. Just like for my physical health, it's so good. And I find that these cross of the vessel of love gene keys are such infectious ones when you find them in other people's charts. So like the 25 too, like I always like can tell when somebody has that energy. There's just this like, there is it when they're, I guess, activated on the gift side, there is this warmth that emanates from them. And there is, like Richard Rudd says, this like luck or this synchronicity where they just like get what they get exactly what they want. Something I loved that he said was like, you don't have to let go of control. You don't have to let go of action or performing action, but like you can just let go of it needing to go a certain way. So like you can make intentions, you can have desires, you can make plans, but just don't be attached to them. So it's like, I feel like me and Lora both have the 7 in our numerology sequence, and I feel like we can get really caught up in like the how and the how of it, and like forget to just like be in the body, not thinking about the why and the how and the where and all of those things. So, and kind of have that underlying faith that everything's going to work out. And sorry if I'm speaking for you, Laura, but
No, it's okay.
I'm really just
I thought of something and I was really excited, like, wait, no, I'll let you finish.
No, say it.
I remembered, great job, Rain. At the beginning of the chapter, there's a really lovely little anecdote that like kind of summarizes this gene key, and it's about a rain man. Do you remember this? Is it coming back? So I think it's like a good story to tell. So imagine in some like far off place back in the day that everyone was, relying on the land to sustain themselves, and they've been in a drought and there's no rain, and so like they invite whatever rain man, I don't want to say local rain man, but he's probably not local, they have to like call him in and invite him to come stay with their tribe for a little bit of time, so he can bring the rain. And so they invite him to do so, and like in the book Richard read described like, oh, some rain men just they have like little rituals that they do. Some of them just stay in their hut, but like for the particular rain man of this story, he isn't worried that he's ever gonna fail, because it's not that he makes it rain. I feel like it's better when Richard Red tells it, but it's not that he makes it rain. He just knows where to go where it will rain. So he follows that inner pull, that inner sense of direction that comes from this G center, and goes wherever he feels it's gonna rain, and then he just shows up, and then it happens to rain. It's not like he's making it happen, or is he? We don't know. For him, his experience of it is like he doesn't make it happen. He just has a sense of where it will rain. And so I feel like that's a serendipity of this gene key of, you don't have to have the pressure that you have to do this thing or you have to make it work. Like Sarah was saying, it'll just happen in whatever way it's supposed to, with serendipity of you. I think there's another example in the chapter about an Olympic athlete who's trying to work so hard, and like a week before the Olympics he gets injured and has to go to the hospital, and he falls in love with the nurse. Like he never would have fallen in love and met the love of his life and lived happily ever after. I was like, haha, like that's funny. That's not actually how it works. But for the sake of this story, let's say he lives happily ever after. It never would have happened if he didn't get injured, which like we think, oh, gross, why did I get injured? Or why is this happening to me? But there's like meaning and value behind it. And so with human design, there's the idea that your life, your entire life from like birth to death is a single line, and it has a very set trajectory. And so like we think we have choices all along the way of like we're doing all these things, we're accomplishing all this stuff, but really it's just like there's no choice. Whether you follow your strategy authority or not, like there's no choice. Either your body chose to do it or it didn't. In this audio, sorry, this is like a side tangent, but Ra Uruhu, in this audio that Sarah was referencing, Global Incarnation Index, he brings up such a good joke that Ra, when he goes to children and he tries to prove his point, he sticks out both hands and tells the kid pick a hand, and the kid picks one. He's like, see, told you no choice. Just say like he knew the child was going to pick that hand, but the fact that the child picked that hand was pre-fated, predestined. Whatever was going on in the child's mind about like which one should I do, it doesn't matter. There's no choice, which I just thought was so funny. It's like along the trajectory of our life, which our magnetic monopole is pulling us towards, we think we have options. We think everything is happening to us or for us or whatever, but we are here, like Sarah said, living out the transits that were imprinted into our design and personality crystals when we were born. There's no choice. So optimistic. That's very like against this gene key because it's such a happy gene key, which I thought too, like as I was reading, I was like, this one's nice. It's not about anything you have to do or think or be. It's just like you just be serendipitous, and that's it. That's nice. I like this. Can we live here? But like you said, sorry, I can steal the mic again, but like you said, with people who have 25, yeah, you can really notice people who have this 46 gene key. And I feel like, I don't know how many I know in my personal life, but I feel like people I've worked with online, a lot of them have it. And you can tell when they're in their shadow and when they're in their gift. And yeah, you just want to shove them into the levity of it, but you can't because it's their own journey. But yeah, it's like a very strong gene key when it shows up in aura of others. So kudos to you if you have it. Neither of us have it. But yeah.
It's crazy because I had an experience though yesterday where like I was just in my body. Like I was like in my body in the moment. Like I do a lot of thinking. Like, you know, whenever it's almost like whenever I get a split second chance to think, I like steal away to my mind and I'm thinking. But like for probably like, I don't know, 3 hours, I was just like in my body. And I was like not thinking about what I was gonna say, not thinking what I was gonna do. And I was like, holy shit, this is how I should be all the time, you know? And it's not necessarily easy to get there because when you have a lot of free time or when, you know, when you're in physical pain or whatever the thing is, it's easy to want to get out. But when there's something that's very engaging to you, it feels like it's easy. And so we have these like brief moments of being in the body, some people longer than others. But something that Richard Rudd said was stop being so serious, and like that play is like the most important work that we can do in the world. And I was like, yes. I was like, I needed to hear that so bad this week, because it's easy to be like, you know, there's this habit of like negative ideating, you know, like just thinking about what the worst possible thing is. And I think there's like a chemical like addiction to it for a lot of people, of that negative ideation, of the adrenaline that comes from thinking negatively. I think it's why the not self is so prevalent, because even if we say we don't subjectively like being frustrated, we don't subjectively like being bitter, we don't subjectively like being angry, we don't subjectively like, we're addicted to it, you know, like we're addicted to the energy of it. So it was an interesting thought, and it was like just really well received for me, because, you know, I know that, like I said before, a lot of my physical feelings, my physical pains, things like that, are because I've disassociated from my body and been in my head for so long. And like I'm really doing my best to return to my body. And it's a messy and painful work when you haven't been there. And that's why a lot of people may never return to their body, may live their entire lives outside of their physical selves, because it hurts getting back in, like if you haven't been in it. But I think that this gene key just reminded me that there's like the reason that we're doing it is not like because we're trying to fulfill something or get somewhere, accomplish something, like you were saying with the Olympic story. Success is relative, and like we might think that somebody who has like an Olympic gold medal is more successful than someone who's made their life with their soulmate, you know, beautiful, and loving, and put a lot of love into the world because of finding that bond or that connection. Like we may think that one's more successful than the other, but neither one is. And that's where, you know, getting into play is the most important thing, because it's not about what you achieve. And that's why, again, like the people who are serious, it's like they may get what they want to get, they may get the gold medal, but they may not be happy with it, or they may not be fulfilled, or they may not be putting the right kind of energy into the world, and they may not feel just in their body. So I feel like that's all I wanted to cover on the 46. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
I don't think so. Oh, it's the channel of discovery. I looked it up, the channel of discovery for 4629, but okay. Other than that, I don't think so.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so do you want to pull up the
astrology chart?
Yeah, the astrology chart. We can just cover it. Doing a bit of a shorter episode this week.
There we go. So this was when we started recording. I don't know if the sun has yet moved into Virgo. I mean, for Libra or not, if it's still there. But remember last week when I said there's a moment, or I think it was last week, whenever it was, that there's a moment in the retrograde cycle when it's conjunct the sun. I think that's happening tonight or tomorrow morning. So that's like the midpoint of this retrograde, which is like when Mercury gets reborn. So there's that. I don't know what else to pay attention to. Lots of retrogrades.
No, we still have the sun in Virgo.
Okay.
no, well, the lots of retrogrades and the Saturn square Uranus, like I can't tell you how many people I've heard have broken up with their significant partner of an extended
Really?
period of time. Yeah. So like, and that is Saturn square Uranus and the retrogrades. That's what it's got it written all over it. The retrograde Saturn square retrograde Uranus. Like that was active all of 2021. And for me, that's when I broke up with my partner, was during the Saturn square Uranus. And like it's a very make or break stress testing kind of energy. And like if there were things that you went around the first pass of the Saturn square Uranus and the second pass, that and the third pass actually for that matter, because now we've retrograded back to not actually make the connection, but it's going to be so close that it's like it's just the tension is in the air. Like people who didn't make those difficult decisions, like maybe making them now. So if there were issues that came up before, they may be coming up again now, but like finally that there may be a final decision, a final ending, a final beginning. I'm moving in the process of moving myself with like no time frame to the south of the East Coast. I'm in Wilmington now, but then I'm going to Florida, and that's very Saturn square Uranus, very retrograde planets. Just because it's like I've entered nonlinear time. I don't have a plan. I know that I need to move. I know that I need to get out of the place that I was in. And so I'm making moves, but I don't like until I imagine until the retrograde planets go direct, I probably won't understand exactly why the puzzle pieces are fitting. I think I said this already, but it's like we've entered nonlinear time. And that's why, there's things that are going to come together and fall apart that don't fit. Like it feels like we were moving in one direction, but then we returned to something. And so, yeah, I've seen a lot of breakups. I've seen a lot of moving and like that kind of uprooting energy, that breaking up energy, that unstoppable force meets an immovable object energy. But something is going to move because I think in this case, I don't want to say Saturn has the upper hand, but I felt like neither one has the upper hand. It's really going to depend on the chart which one ends up overpowering the other, I guess, or like if it's the Saturnian quest for stability or the Uranian quest for evolution. And either way, there's going to be aspects of both of those things sneaking in. And I've talked about this. This is going to be going on until sometime in October. I can't remember the exact date. And then all of the planets retrograding. Yeah. And that's the other thing, that this period is so unstable. And we don't like instability. But if you're thinking about the 46 gene key, then you're thinking about the fact that if it's happening, it means it was supposed to happen. And that's the luck and the graciousness and the synchronicity that we find when we just allow what's happening to be exactly what's supposed to happen. So of course, subjectively, it might not feel good if we have control issues, but likely it is what is, it's what's meant to go down. So just kind of release the illusion of control. This is like very release the illusion of control energy, I feel. But that's kind of all I wanted to touch on. We're about to enter the Virgo, the Libra new moon as well. But
oh yeah, that's gonna happen this upcoming week, right?
Yeah, in like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Before
we
our
don't know
next
what date
call.
is to tell you. Sorry if you're listening. We don't know what date it is, but we can look it up. Maybe.
Well, actually, no, I don't. Oh wait, I do. I know what day it is. I'm like, let me just look really quick here. September 25th.
Okay, so yeah, that's in 3 days. Whatever day.
Yeah, it's in 3 days. So we're gonna have a new moon in Libra, and shortly thereafter, 4 days, and it's gonna be with Venus in Virgo. And then 4 days later, Venus is going to go into Libra as well, into the sign of into its home sign. So just interesting things to note. Is there anything else you want to touch on with the astrology?
No, just on your comment for control, like, don't we never have control? Isn't the concept of control also a major illusion? And so it's just a time to go deeper. I mean, I feel like at least in the Northern Hemisphere, because it's the first day of fall, like we're finally getting into, well, not finally getting there, like we're returning to the time of year of death, because fall is when everything dies in the process of letting go of whatever you're holding on to. So I feel like it's symbolic to let go of control, because that's what this season's all about. So it feels fitting. But yeah, other than that,
no, for sure. Yeah, well, we never do, but like sometimes it feels like we're moving in a linear direction, and like other times it's like nothing that we want is working. And so it's like not just being attached to the moments where everything's working for us, because obviously like it's nice when that happens, but it makes you think that the universe is only working for you when everything's going the way that you want it to go, and that's just not the case. That's all ego, that's all not self. So so I think that probably covers. I'll probably touch on the Libra new moon next week in a little bit more depth once the sun moves into the new gene key, which is what's after 46?
I believe it's 18.
Oh, it's 18. Okay, so yeah, once the sun moves into 18. Okay.
So I think at this point in time, Mercury has moved out of 18 because it's conjunct the sun. So I think Mercury is also in 46 right now, just FYI. But in case you're curious.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's everything. Wait, is there? I don't know. It's one of those days that
I don't know.
You can't ask us questions because like you're not live with us. So like this is the moment where you branch out to everyone else listening so that you can like take a time to like just stop using your brain for a second and give it a chance to respond to things. But it doesn't work that way anymore. So
if you want questions, you're going to have to follow us on YouTube so we can get a certain amount of subscribers and do these live.
Yeah, please subscribe. Sorry, that was super desperate. Don't subscribe because I'm saying please subscribe. I don't really care. If you like our videos, feel free to subscribe. It doesn't make a difference, does it? I know everything's futile. There's no choice. Whether you subscribe or not is exactly what it is, and it was predestined if you press that button or not. So there you go.
We're like, yeah, there's no choice. Yes, suffering's cool. Like, yes, get out of your head.
There's no point to anything. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're not nihilists actually. So, but
aren't we?
No, because we're not like, I feel like nihilism is like the 47th key without on the shadow side. I don't think that it's like a state of being, because I think that there is joy in life, and I think that's part of the purpose, right? So
but I feel like you can have joy while being also nihilistic. Nihilism isn't a block of emotions, is it? Now I like etymology, so I'm gonna explore the etymology of nihilism and get back to you next week.
Wait until next week for us to discuss and create this course around this concept, because I don't know either.
Is it nihilistic to discuss the etymology of nihilism? Who knows?
No, it's super 7 and super probably not self, open, head center.
Well, my head center is defined. So.
I know, but mine isn't.
Okay. Thank you for listening. Catch you next time. I hope you all have a great week. And the end. I don't know. I feel like goodbyes are awkward.
We'll catch you etherically on the flip side. Bye, everyone.